There are some names alone that are more than enough to turn a game into an undisputed success. Halo, for example, is synonymous with huge sales and a community that would probably jump at the first chance to play an MMORPG based on the popular saga. What about Sword Art Online, which pretty much only pops up about 100 times on the comment section of any random anime MMO video? Basing an MMO on some of the hottest IPs of today would probably grant the developer a truckload of money and hopefully please the millions of devoted fans who are dying to play in the universe of their favorite characters, interact with them, possibly even impersonating them. So, developers, what are you waiting for? Here are our suggestions for which franchises should be turned into MMOs right away. Go get the licenses right now, unless you don't like cash.
FreeMMOStation.com.
The demand for a Diablo MMORPG has seen better days. Even Blizzard has said that the prospect of making a full-blown Diablo MMO isn't that appealing anymore, with the focus shifting towards smaller and more profitable games, as Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft, and Overwatch are proof of. Perhaps the discouraging failure of Project Titan was enough to put the studio out of big MMOs, at least for some time. However, the concept could still be something really addictive if handled properly. Having many players in an isometric world, sharing adventures, experiences, virtual lives, and battles could be memorable. While Diablo is now unlikely to be the one to take the template to an MMO scale, there are a few games going down that road and proving that this could in fact work out pretty well. Path of Exile is one of the best examples, a free-to-play game that is often cited by players as what Diablo 3 could have been, should have been. It's also very fair in its business model and decidedly grim, just like the Blizzard series. But many players are now excited for Lineage Eternal, Twilight Resistance, and especially for the new Lost Ark, an isometric MMORPG that kinda came out of nowhere, surprised everyone with its production values and attention to detail. If this game is as nearly as good as the trailers are making it look, and for once we have no reason to doubt, then this will be the one to end all for the Diablo MMO demand, once and for all. Both Naruto and Dragon Ball have all the potential for outstanding MMOs that could print money to whoever developed them. And in fact, they're already kind of printing money, but not in the way that it really should be. There are several unofficial browser MMORPGs based on these franchises, and despite the mechanics being used in dozens, literally dozens of similar games, they still manage to actually attract a huge following and eventually make a lot of money. Although their authenticity is questionable, it's a fact that the games are out there and they are taking advantage of something that is very, very profitable. Then there's this 3D Dragon Ball MMORPG called Dragon Ball Online that was cancelled in 2013, but is apparently being brought back by a group of fans as Dragon Ball Online Revelations, finally in English and a few other languages. It's not a AAA MMO that the franchise deserves, and while it's treading very thin line between legal and illegal as the authors themselves admit, it's the closest thing yet to a true Dragon Ball MMORPG. Naruto isn't so lucky though, but the single-player games keep coming fast and hard. However, there's a big initial question for any studio that would want to make a Dragon Ball or Naruto MMORPG. Would you go the Marvel Heroes way? Let players choose their favorite characters, or would you turn them into NPCs with whom you interact? In the first case, you'll have a bunch of Gokus running around, all looking the same, doing the same moves. And on the second scenario, you'll have a bunch of Gokus anyway, only painstakingly made by players who want to recreate their favorite characters using the character creation system. It's very difficult to please every single fan, including balancing issues, so this is probably one of the hardest tasks for any studio. But no matter how it turns out, with the two franchises having a great 2015 with new movies and series coming, a true huge Dragon Ball or Naruto MMO is still very much in demand, and it's bound to happen sooner or later. So it's not just that Red Dead Redemption is an awesome game, which it is, it's also that the Wild West is such uncharted territory for MMOs, and video games in general, really, and I think that change would certainly become welcome. Rockstar's classic series would be the perfect fit, and the free roam mode is sometimes seen as the perfect prototype for what a cowboy MMO would look like. A huge open world just waiting to be explored, many activities, PvE and PvP content, and of course, plenty of bad guys to shoot in the face. A Wild West MMORPG wouldn't be complete without a variety of classes to choose from, plenty of crafting options, and although it would be somewhat restrictive in what comes to mounts, besides horses, It's not like there were many other means of transportation. Banding together to raid trains and villain hideouts could be something truly exciting and unique. Hopefully the combat system would be anything else other than tab targeting, and hopefully action-packed. With Rockstar already dipping their feet on persistent open-world multiplayer with Grand Theft Auto Online, this mega studio could easily make some kind of MMO from the Red Dead series. Either that, or include an expanded multiplayer mode in the next Red Dead game. Yeah, that's something that actually sounds plausible and would be highly appreciated. One of the most iconic video game franchises ever, Halo has already made the jump into a real-time strategy game called Halo Wars. Clearly, Microsoft wants to explore more of this world and take the Master Chief to other places. Oddly enough, though, they're taking it to Russia, with the region-exclusive shooter Halo Online for PC. This baffling decision is not only leaving most of the world out of the fun, but has already made some fans mod the game, removing the geo restrictions and unlocking the cash shop items. But it's not this Halo Online that we wanted to see. What we wanted was the Halo Online MMORPG that Ensemble Studios was developing for $90 million to compete with World of Warcraft, in which we saw its development cancelled in 2007 and the subsequent closure of the studio that created the Age of Empires series. Sure, the screenshots made it look like a poor man's World of Warcraft, we'll admit that, but with time and the colossal budget from Microsoft, it could have actually developed into something worthwhile. After all, we know how most MMOs launch. And yeah, they're underwhelming, and the games eventually improve over the next couple of years. We still find Halo one of the few names with a huge potential for Star Wars kind of MMO, but we understand how the comfort of the tried and tested template, single-player shooter campaign and multiplayer mode is more appealing and still brings in the big bucks. To invest a massive budget into an MMORPG is a really big risk, and judging by the past experiences, it's one that seems unlikely to happen. The Fallout series has a contrived history, and there's even an MMO somewhere along the way. There's even a big chance that it could be in development at Bethesda as we speak. So here's hoping. However, with the Elder Scrolls Online underperforming, we're not quite sure just how this has affected any chance that the world is ever going to see a Fallout MMO. But first things first, Fallout MMO was a very hot topic a few years ago, and there was even one in development with the codename Project V13. Interplay sold the Fallout license to Bethesda except for the MMO part, but the deal required that the studio to effectively develop the MMO in a few years or just give up the rights. With no Fallout MMO in sight and Bethesda demanding the rights in court, there was a heated dispute until the makers of Fallout 3 eventually won the case. All we ever got to see from Project V13 was a few pieces of artwork, some screenshots by the developer, Masthead Studios, makers of the mediocre MMORPG Earthrise and the shooter Guns N' Robots. So it's hard to think that Bethesda went through all the trouble only to sit on such a powerful license. Fallout has everything to make a great MMO, from the original and very mature world to the combat, which would work wonders with the Vault Tech Assisted Targeting System, or VATS. We would love to wonder about post-apocalyptic scenarios, exploring devastated lands with the help of our Pip-Boy, and blasting the heads off some mutants. But until this happens, we'll have to settle for something like Fallen Earth or the new game that looks maybe kinda good, The Skies, which it's gonna be the closest that we're gonna get to right now. BioWare's amazing space opera is one of rare detail and vast scope, and the fourth game should put a new spin on it, with a new story. Hopefully they won't make any more blunders like the ending of the original trilogy, which sparked one of the biggest gamers' outrage ever seen. But that's what you get when you conclude such a saga with endings that only change in color. That was fixed later though, after many distressed complaints. Anyways, Mass Effect has such a rich lore that it could easily rival Star Wars, and in fact, there's even a movie in development, and if it uses the deep storylines and memorable characters of the franchise, books included, it could be something good. Maybe an MMO would work best as a prequel to the original trilogy, to give BioWare free reign, avoid the danger of chronological mistakes, and lead into the events that we experience in single-player games. So, this means that it has all the makings of a AAA MMO. BioWare has already the experience from Star Wars The Old Republic, even setting is alike, and some degree of success. Or at least since the studio decided to change the business model to free-to-play, the technology is already set in place, basically, so it would mean way less work than building an MMO from scratch. On the other hand, having two similarly themed MMORPGs could be bad business, even if the game universes are unrelated. This is a scenario that shouldn't be ruled out. Weighing the pros against the cons, a Mass Effect Online could definitely happen and be welcomed by thousands, if not millions, of players. The biggest downside to a Mass Effect prequel MMO, though, would certainly be not having Miranda around. It's a bit odd how there's really barely a decent magic MMO out there. This is a theme that could capture the imagination and wallets of millions of players, as the Harry Potter franchise has easily proved. There's Wizard 101 and really little else that we can remember, and the demand for a Harry Potter MMORPG is real. Makes sense, and in fact has already stirred up quite a lot of confusion thanks to a fan project that just won't die. Unknown studio Biohazard Entertainment has tried on 2 different occasions to develop a Harry Potter MMO, first as Harry Potter Online, and about a year later as the Wizarding World Online. In both occasions, Warner Brothers, owner of the rights, has slapped the studio with a cease and desist letter. Funny thing is, though, that the indie studio tried to avoid legal issues by calling this a fan project. Like this was enough for Warner Brothers to go and say, oh, okay then, we didn't see that loophole, go ahead and just make the game. Funnier still is that there's even a Kickstarter asking for $100,000, which is only to build a prototype, to draw interest from potential publishers and investors. We couldn't help but find this a little bit fishy. Anyways, a real Harry Potter MMO could be awesome. Obviously, you wouldn't play as any other major characters, but you could be one of Hogwarts students. Meet the main cast in some cool quests involving wizardry and ultimately going in awesome adventures in other places. There's so much potential for a great MMO here, and it's also very unusual of a theme for a game. It sounds to us like this game would be a big hit, if given proper attention and budget, but it looks like it's not going to happen right away. Maybe for a lack of vision or timing, who knows? Now that Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the spin-off trilogy set in the Harry Potter universe, was announced, it may actually happen. We forget the number of times we've seen comments asking for a Sword Art Online MMO. It's actually so frequent that it's almost as annoying as maybe those spam bots commenting telling you how you can earn like $10,000 a month just by scratching your nuts. Well, at least almost. But in the case of Sword Art Online, it's actually for a good reason. We understand that. This anime could turn out as a great game, a truly great game, since the MMORPG side of things is actually such a major part of it already. It's not only the characters that would obviously draw the attention of anime fans, it's just the idea of having real consequences, something that's really so vague in MMOs. Now, we're not true supporters of permadeath, and while a few MMOs such as Wizardry Online and Salem have tried it, there should be some kind of other major consequence for death in MMOs. Maybe something akin to Dark Souls? Anyways, Sword Art Online is already getting a bunch of games. Mostly, though, they are fast cash-in mobile games and a few more for the PlayStation platforms, but really, the perfect Sword Art Online game, and you guys all know it, would definitely be an MMO. Just without the real death part. Yeah, of course. There aren't many franchises hotter right now than Game of Thrones. Despite the fantasy theme, it manages to be fresh, extremely mature, and dare we say unique in its own twisted kind of way. There's so much material in the books and so much to make of it that many players would just love to be a part of the world where Tyrion, Daenerys, and Jon Snow live so many adventures. The simple idea of traveling to places such as Casterly Rock, The Wall, King's Landing would leave many players in awe, as long as the game got the budget that it deserves. But now you tell us, hey stupid, there's already a Game of Thrones MMO. To which we reply that, if you mean the Facebook Game of Thrones Ascent thing, yeah, that's not what we wanted at all. This is the complete opposite of what we have in mind. Sure, there's allegedly other Game of Thrones MMOs in development by Big Point called Game of Thrones, The Seven Kingdoms, but we haven't heard anything from it since 2012 or so. Also, Big Point isn't exactly known for its deep, mesmerizing games, so either this already got canceled or it's going to turn out to be a casual MMO, and we don't want that. So, this would have all the makings of a stunning MMORPG set in a stunning world, hopefully with rich characters and surprising twists all around. Dicks and tits would also surely be included. There's only one other franchise that would probably get more players than this. Well, that one is Pokémon. While Nintendo is doing a fine job of releasing Pokémon games regularly over the years, the focus is now in creating new creatures instead of improving the actual mechanics that are getting somewhat tired. No matter what, they usually say that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah, we get that, and that's exactly what happens with this addictive formula. But the upcoming anime MMORPG Period Chronicles is probably spoiling us a little bit. You'll also get to capture monsters and take them into battle in this game, even mixing them to get more powerful creatures. It's a collectible and competitive formula that could go places with MMO mechanics. Stuff such as having a few buddies to go along with you in quests, trying to get that super rare amazing Pokemon in a 12-man raid or something like that. It could be something really special, and if they kept adding new creatures, it would pretty much last forever, and we know they're always going to add new creatures. There's always the issue of balance, and Nintendo would have to get it right. We know. How rare is a Pokemon if thousands of players have it? And ultimately, which platform would this be developed for? Any current Nintendo console doesn't seem capable of realizing that potential, so the versatile and powerful PC platform could be the best choice. But would it happen in 1,000 years? Now picture the scenario. Nintendo announces the Pokemon MMORPG for PC, with a big budget, amazing visuals, so on, so on. The catch is that it would be exclusive to Japan. Be real, guys. How would you react? These are our suggestions, and you probably noticed that some of the major names were left out of the list, possibly for good reason. For example, there's already a Grand Theft Auto Online, and another Metal Gear Online is also on the way with Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. And if you think Assassin's Creed could work as a good MMO, I don't know, we're a little bit torn on the matter, to be honest. What sense would it make to have hundreds of assassins leaping around the city, not exactly assassinate, mind you, doing fetch quests and such? Like, really? Maybe the Witcher series, though. However, that could probably work. It's got rich lore, captivating characters, and there's definitely space for an MMO. So let's hope that CD Projekt thinks about it after the release of the third game. Anyways, guys, let us know if you agree or disagree with these candidates, and if you have any others that are on your mind that could possibly turn into an MMO, let us know. Comments below, as long as it's not Twilight. Yeah? Alright guys, see you next time.
Still not sick and tired of all the MOBAs yet? Good for you, because the developers of Heroes of New Earth has just announced another one, Strike. This is another free-to-play MOBA, and the studio expects the two games to compete between